Hello ladies and gents of the internet work. Jared here. Gonna try to get another quick video done here. This is about replacing the sway links in my wife's 2016 Ford Transit Connect. I replaced them once. The replacements fit, but they didn't fit. Instead, they've been knocking against the unibody metal and making all sorts of racket. So I finally bought the part that looks exactly like the OEM part. I'm gonna go ahead and get that slammed in real fast. So, without further ado, let's get started. First things first for this one, we will be needing to take the tire off. So, going to go ahead and get that in the air. As you can see, we're up. Now, I didn't break the lugs loose on the ground because I have an impact tool to let me break them loose even with the tire in the air. If you're just using a regular tire iron, you're going to need to break loose the 5 lugs you see there around the Ford emblem. Break them loose on the ground so you can use the weight of the vehicle to let you get those loose because they're put on pretty tight. There's my floor jack. Notice I actually was safety Sammy today, and I've got a floor jack in position in case this jack loses hydraulic pressure and fails. So all that said, let me get my impact tool ready and we'll zip these off real quick and I'll show you exactly what we need to work on. Alright, tire is off. What we need to replace is here. This is the sway link. And what's going on is the top of the sway link is right there. See how big that head is? It is rubbing against the metal in here. And it's making all sorts of a fuss and a racket. And I'm just going to replace it with the original equipment. See over here, this is where I was trying to kind of beat it out. As you can see, it's just been rubbing and scraping and rusting and all sorts of fun stuff. So we're going to switch it out and be done with it. So the way these are connected, it's the same on both sides. You've got a little Allen that goes in the middle. It's like a set screw sort of, and then you put a tool around to bust that nut loose, and then you just take it off both sides. One thing that will happen as you try to take this off though is, because this is a suspension component, right now it's fully relaxed because there's no tire touching the ground, making the ground forcing everything up, so you'll often have to get another jack to give yourself some lift so that you can actually work the other side out. So I'm gonna get started on this. I may have to get my transmission jack over here and work on it. The jack I normally use, I accidentally left in my other vehicle. It's not available to me, so we will see what happens. So here's the setup. I've got a 7/32 Allen wrench in the middle. That's a 16 millimeter wrench I've got going around the nut there. This one is ratcheting, which helps tremendously in this setup. So now I need to break it loose. I may have to get my hammer on it to break it loose, but we're going to try to break it loose and I will bring you back. Alright, so improvising here, you'll see that there is a jack, but probably not one you're used to seeing. Let me rotate you here. Whoa! Okay. This is a transmission jack, and it's not rated for a huge amount of weight, but it is enough. I was able to lift this up to free the bottom connection, which goes to the front sway bar right there. And I had to cut the wheel in order to get the room to loosen the top, which is right over there. You do have to take this bracket off. This is to help hold the ABS sensor in place so you don't rub. So, comparison time. On the right is what came out. That is a Duralast Gold part, and it's a beefier part. But you'll notice a big difference there. The ball joint heads on the Duralast Gold part are significantly larger than the OEM style, which is on the left. And that does make a difference because tolerances are really tight up in the wheel well. So that's the new one going in. We're going to go ahead and work on that. So, forgive me, I'm moving a little slow. Too much yard work this weekend. All right. When you put this bracket on, you have to have the bracket on before you put the nut on. Kind of self-explanatory, but notice I made a mistake there. I'm on the wrong side of the tie rod. So pop this back out, get on the right side of the tie rod, push this back on. Okay, so we're looking good up top, and as we had to move this up and down to get everything out, we'll have to move it up and down to line everything up to get it back in. So in the beginning, don't worry about that. Just get one of the two on. So we got this in position. I'm going to go ahead, and the nut I placed somewhere, anywhere. Ah. All right, now check this out. If you're not someone who mechanics a lot, you'll probably wonder what that plastic is there. That's nylon. And what that means is this is a locking nut. So what'll happen is that's going to act as a retaining feature. You get this tight and flush on there, that plastic's going to keep it from trying to back off. So you don't have to use something like, what is the correct non-branded term? Like thread locker. Or you don't have to use a split washer to hold her in tight. So I'm going to go ahead, start threading this in. But what you're going to see as I begin to thread this in, there we go. Zoom in on that. That one. There we go. What should happen is as we get tight, the middle is going to start to spin when I try to snug it with a tool, and that's why you need the Allen wrench to hold the middle tight while you tighten this up. And again, I kind of elbow torque this. I don't go look up the official torque spec. I've never had an issue with this backing out. The issue was I put in the wrong part. Let me get this installed, and then I'll show you what I do in order to get the bottom lined up and get that one installed. Okay, just give you that example. See, I go into tighten, and you see the middle is rotating. So I'm not going to be able to get any tighter until I insert that Allen key. All right, this is a 3/16 Allen key. And another trick, just let it prop against something that's not going to budge. In this case, the shock tower. And we're going to work on this until it feels pretty good, which that feels pretty good to me. Then you get to do the wiggle dance, which is where you take your tool and you have to wiggle the Allen key just enough to get it out. So we do that, we get it out. All right, let me work on getting this bottom one set up, because as you can see, it's not lining up at all at the moment, and I'll bring you back. Okay, so you'll see that once again, I have lifted up the transmission jack, and I needed to do that in order to get this to line up. You have to get the shock tower to line up with the sway bar, because the sway bar is not going to move, so the only thing you can move is the shock tower side. And we've got that done. And what's also important here is that the sway link has to be able to push flush against the sway bar. If you can only partially push it in and you can't move it all the way in with your hands, you're too far out of alignment. You need to use whatever second jack you've got to raise it up a little bit more. You should be able to fairly easily push it in with your hand, and then throw the nut on the back side and go ahead and get working on that. I showed you what you have to do on the easy one, so it's the same process here. I'm going to get this tightened back up, and there you have it. Other end of the sway link is done. Now sometimes when you tighten these, the Allen, the center of the bolt won't move. You don't need the Allen key. That's what I found there at the bottom. I was able to snug it up. It wasn't moving. But that's it. So that's sway link. The passenger side is 100% identical to the driver's side, so I'm not going to show that. What I will do though is when I throw the tire back on, I'll show you the proper way to put a tire back on, and that'll be kind of the end of this video. Alright, if you have an impact tool like I do, it can be really, really tempting to barely thread on a lug nut, this guy here, or this guy here, and then just blast it. Well, if you do that, your tire will not be tight. It's not going to mount correctly onto your hub. So this is what you do. Thread these guys on by hand. Threading them on by hand also allows you to know if you have any tight spots, if you've got some threads wearing out. And it will prevent you from accidentally damaging threads by spinning this on too quick. So what you're going to see is that some spots where you first put on are going to be loose as you've added pressure from the other lugs. Now once you got this done, then you can throw on whatever socket assembly you're using. These are supposed to be 19s, 19 millimeter. I can't find my 19 millimeters. So it turns out that a 3/4 SAE is almost a 19. It will fit. And it won't fit where you have to slam it on there. It goes on. I think it's a tad bit bigger. Anyway, it works. So what you do now, if you got an impact like me, is you're just going to be gentle with it until you hear it start to click. We're not doing final torque yet. What we're working on right now is getting all of our lugs flush. That's what we're doing. We'll go around 2 times just to make sure. Okay. Now we're ready to actually do the Uggadug kill it dead torque. I think the spec on these is like 120, 130 foot-pounds. Again, I just hit it pretty hard with my torque driver, and that's adequate. It's generally what your shop does too. Now, when you put these on, I'm going to assume you've got a 5 lug. 4 lugs are pretty old. I know 6 lugs are used in racing applications and heavier weight applications, but most passenger vehicles are going to have a 5 lug setup. So this is what we need to do. We need to alternate to make sure that this gets torqued on evenly. So going around in a circle, no, you will not get even torque. We need to do what's called a star pattern. So pick any point on our star here. I'm going to pick the top. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to do that twice. I'll lay it out again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tire is now back on, and I would trust it not to go flying off, as this is my wife's vehicle. Got to make sure it's right. She's not mechanically inclined. That would be me. Maybe. Some days. Other days I doubt it. So, that's going to be it for this video. As I said, the passenger side is exactly the same, so I'm not going to show you all that again. It's the exact same setup. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe. If you got any questions, throw them in the comments. I am more than happy to try to help people out who are trying to be work-from-home mechanics, trying to stretch that dollar. More than happy to help. That's how I started. And until next time, later.